Trump just dumped the market a few hours ago, and now he has another major announcement happening within about 2 hours. By the time you're watching this, it might be a shorter time than that even, but I want to tell you what's happening right now in the market. We'll go through, what could be coming out later. We'll also talk about maybe how to trade this market, right? We're seeing a dip. Is it time to short the market? Is it time to buy the dip? I'll tell you what I'm doing and what the possibilities are going forward. If you don't mind, hit subscribe so you can see future videos just like this one. I think I was one of the first people to announce why the market was dipping earlier on YouTube with a video. So hit the bell notification so you get updates like right away so you can make your own decision on whether you want to sell or put more money into the market or whatever you want to do. If you want to trade, check out BYDFi. We're giving up to $13,000 worth of bonuses. There's someone that got this $13,000 bonus just this week, and then there are a whole ton of people that got smaller bonuses. I think we had like maybe 20 or 30 people that got $170 bonus, and then people got some in between as well. Check this out underneath the video. We'll be talking about leverage further in the video. Now, like I said in my last video, this is the reason that we're seeing a dip. To be clear, the Nasdaq's down like 2.5%. The VIX went up. The volatility index went up 25%. We have oil falling down even more on the day, 4.4%. Bitcoin is down. Altcoins are down. Gold's up a little bit on this news. So what was announced? Well, Trump said we may have to increase tariffs on Chinese products. I won't go through exactly why, but this is a very long message. Trump said, he said basically they're becoming very hostile and sending letters to countries throughout the world that they want to impose export controls on each and every element of production having to do with rare earths. So Trump saying maybe we'll have to increase tariffs. There's also no reason for Trump to meet with the Chinese president. Michael Saylor, just a little while ago, said, rightfully so, there are no tariffs on Bitcoin. So while Bitcoin's being affected in price, Bitcoin isn't a company that has products, right? It's a technology. It's a hard asset. So while it will go down in price because people correlate it versus other assets, and when people go more risk on, they buy Bitcoin. When people want to take risk off the table, they might sell Bitcoin. And because there's manipulation, it's not like this is going to affect Bitcoin all that much directly. Now, we did fall below this trend line. I've been saying since before we went up to 126 that we could see some resistance right around 126, 127 because of this, just this classic trend line from the previous two peaks, and that we could see a dip all the way down to this multi-cycle support line, right? It had been resistance in the past, but we may flip it into support. Now, we're slightly below it now, right? So I'm not saying that this necessarily invalidates that theory, but if we go down much further, you might say that we could that this wasn't a very good support, right? I mean, if we jump off of this level, if this is kind of the bottom, this is kind of a classic shakeout where the support is actually a little bit lower than the trend line. So everyone that maybe had stop losses at 118,300 gets stopped out. But then we bounce off of the line a little bit lower. So I think this would actually, in my mind, be a pretty good support level still for this theory that I said earlier. But if we go down much further, I think, again, it might invalidate this as a support level. Now, we still have a lot further to go if we want to set a higher low closer to where we were just, a couple weeks ago. That's a lot of rhyming. What I'm saying is we could go further down and we would still set a higher low on Bitcoin, right? Like we went down to 107,000. Then more recently, we went down to 108,500 and we're at 117,500. So we could go down to 110,000. It would still be a higher low, which would be bullish. We just set a higher high, a higher low, and we could continue on. So even if we go down further, I don't think it's necessarily negative for Bitcoin long term. Even from a technical perspective, I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing in the world, right? Now, we do have the weekend coming up. There's a lot of manipulation that happens over the weekends. We see Binance dump the crypto market right when people think we're finding a bottom. Then Binance comes in and sells a bunch of crypto on Wintermute. So be careful of that. There's lower volume over the weekends as well. There's no ETF buying over the weekends. We also have a big announcement later today from Trump. Now, he actually had put this out there that he was going to make an announcement before the news about China. Now, maybe he already knew what he was going to tweet about China, but he said, or this says here, President Trump will be speaking at both 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. today, including an announcement. This is, I don't know if this is right that he's speaking at 3 p.m. because here it just says that he arrives at the White House. I guess there's an open press conference or something. Obviously, people want to know more about China. Like, what will the tariffs look like? Is this a for sure thing? Is this just something that you're floating out there that you may consider, but you're really not really thinking you'll have to go through with this? I'm not sure we'll get all that information later today, but it will be interesting to see what kind of announcement he makes. Now, of course, people want to know, like, where could we go? I get messages like this every day. Where do we think Bitcoin's going short term? Where do we think altcoins are going? Well, zoom out and long term, Bitcoin goes up and to the right. Like, no matter what time frame you're looking at, we've done really well over the last couple of years. You might have to go through a 30% dip, and then we move up and to the right. Short term, there's really no way of knowing. I already kind of told you what I was thinking with this trend line. If we get a higher low, which I think is very possible, right? I think we're in a very good place for Bitcoin, and I think we're in a good place for the economy. I think, the stock market continues to go up, and the Fed's going to lower rates, most likely. We could see a higher low, still at 110,000. That's a pretty key psychological level. We saw some support and some resistance around 112,000. You can see this big bounce up to a new all-time high back in August around that level. We got rejected right around that level in May. So, if we're looking at these previous levels, we could see some support here because this is where we saw resistance just halfway through September. If we break down below this, I'd be kind of watching that $112,000 level, then 110, and then I'd be watching this $108,700 mark to see if we set a higher low. I'm pretty bullish right now, to be honest. Like, I opened up a Solana long position. I think Solana actually, the chart of Solana looks pretty good. It's actually the market cap, not the price per Solana, but it's essentially the same thing, right? So we keep on seeing higher highs and higher lows. And I think Solana will probably do very well if we go into alt season in Q4, or if the market just continues going up and to the right. If we set new all-time highs for Bitcoin, I think Solana will continue to do well. So I put a low leverage long position on. I basically put 3x, so we'd have to fall down all the way to let me just look up Sol USD. We'd have to fall down to $140 or so for me to get liquidated, which I don't think is super likely unless we just go into another bear market, or, we crash, like a real crash. Bitcoin goes under $100,000. Solana could go down to 140 or something. So right now, if you're looking at this and thinking, okay, we could see Solana at 150 or 140, right? But we're not going to go much lower than that. Then you might be able to use something like 3x leverage and then have a little bit of extra margin. So if we do get down there, you can add a little bit of margin. If you're looking at Bitcoin and thinking, we're going to set a higher low, I would be looking at, 110,000. So you could technically go 10x leverage. You would have the ability to go down to 107,000 or so before liquidation. But I'd keep some extra money around to add to your margin. You can just hit this low margin button and then add more money to it. So that's how I'd be approaching it right now. I wouldn't be getting super aggressive just because this still isn't that big of a pullback, right? I mean, people are kind of freaking out, but Bitcoin went from 126 to 117. That's less than a 10% move down, right? So I only use higher amounts of leverage, more aggressive leverage when we're right at support levels I think will hold. But it's kind of hard to tell where we're going to go from here. Now, you could be saying, well, we're going to bounce off this trend line. And if not, then, I'll put a stop loss. That's always something you can do too. Keep in mind, this is just a small portion of my portfolio. The majority of my portfolio is in long-term holds, not leverage. I think that's the best way to approach it. But I do go more risk on with leverage trades. And we've been able to make life-changing amounts of money throughout this bull run with leverage. Like even this dip, right? It's nothing. we've been able to take so much profit throughout the bull run. These low dips, even if all of these trades went away, we would still be heavily in the profit throughout the bull run. Basically, if you've been long this market and haven't been too greedy, you've been able to make lots of money using leverage, because it's been, largely an up-only market, right? There have been dips and sideways action, but as long as you weren't getting too greedy, you use low leverage, you had some extra collateral or some extra money on the sidelines to add to margin, you've done really well. Let me know your thoughts on all this underneath the video. Let me know what you think Trump's going to say in just a few hours. I really do appreciate it. I'll see you in the next one.